Hey gang, we've been working on this video for 2 years now. We've shot at steel targets all over the country to gather the data to bring you what you're about to see. Now look, this is not rocket science, but it is science. The angles of targets, the materials that they're made out of, the distances, and the rounds with which you shoot the targets, all very important to having a fun time, a safe time, and going home with no extra holes in you. Check it out. So everybody says safety first. I don't want to do this to the point that it becomes boring, but shooting projectiles at something made of steel or any hard object like that is inherently very dangerous. The construction of the targets, the angle of the targets, the material type, meaning the grade of steel, is very important. So know what you're shooting at. Before you show up onto a range to just start shooting, make sure it's safe. Walk downrange, inspect the steel targets. What you're looking for is the strike face. The area that you're going to be shooting at is free from defects and abnormalities. You're also looking at the angle or lack thereof of the steel. If that steel is very vertical and it is mounted rigidly to whatever it's on, that is where you're going to get ricochet problems, where the rounds are going to be coming back towards you, which is very much not a good thing. We've all seen the video, or maybe you haven't, of the man shooting the target with a 50 cal, and next thing you know, that thing comes flying back at him. This can happen with any size projectile. So inspect the target faces, look for any abnormalities or deformations. Tell you what, if you've got targets that have gotten banged up like that, it's time to take them to the scrapyard. I've had folks say, well, can't I just take a grinder and smooth them out? Here's the thing, the way that steel is made, and you get these different hardnesses, so we're all looking for AR 400, 500, and 550 to shoot at, that heat from the grinder basically causes the hardness rating to completely change. It actually can make it very brittle, where you're shooting at something that now can crack, explode, or break upon the impact of a bullet. So, scrapyard time if you have gotten to the point of deformation, pockets. We've showed you some pictures, or will show you some pictures of huge craters, or even bullets that have completely penetrated the target. Kind of defeats the point of shooting at steel if the rounds are going right through it. Know what you're shooting at. Your safety's on the line. So continuing on the discussion of steel targets, what's good, what's bad, what you should be investing your money in. We pulled the M1 out of the gun safe. We've got some high quality 30-06 ammo. We're gonna run some rounds onto a known piece of substandard steel. We've got the M1 Garand here, which I can't seem to load because I haven't held it in 2 or 3 years. So here we go. Nope. And the ping. Now we'll shoot this one. So we've done the 30, now we've got the 308. So 2 big boy guns on what we know to be a substandard piece of steel. Good eye protection no matter what, kids. Couple big misses there. I'm still so shaky. All right, now I want to see what that looks like. I'm hoping. So definitely when we're shooting steel, quality or not, you're gonna get fragments coming off the steel. Quality eye pro is a must. Safety glasses are a must. I'm a big fan of side protection because while we might be shooting this way, If I'm not shooting, I may turn and be talking to him while somebody's on the range shooting, and something can come in and whack you in the eye. So food for thought, even if you're a spectator, either turn your back to the targets or face them directly if you do not have side protection while people are shooting. We could come out here and do some rituals. Thankfully there's no holes through Drew's camera. Oh yeah, you know, some of what we thought may have been misses, may have been keyholes. Holy shit. Check that out. So, lots of data off of this piece of steel. One of those things is that the strike face is no longer smooth and flat. You want a good, smooth strike face. Of course, when your rounds are completely penetrating the steel, that's definitely not a smooth strike face. As you have bullet impacts into craters and fissures on the steel, you get all kinds of uneven splashback. What you want is a piece of steel that has that good angle to it with a smooth, clean strike face, so that as the bullet splatter hits, it's sent down to the dirt and not sideways or back at the shooter. We've all seen videos of that happening. I've had chunks embedded in me from people shooting improperly at steel. Drew, if you get up here close, you'll be able to see how readily a large caliber weapon will punch through mild steel. Pretty crazy. You can see how these are all so clean. This is all brand new holes. The ones that were old are rusty. All this shit's brand new and clean. Had a nice little group going here on the head.
So we've explained to you why having a smooth strike face at a correct angle made of the correct grade of steel is important. Equally important is the projectile type. So there's many different types of ammunition on the market. Most projectiles are made of lead with a copper jacket. Now there's also all lead. There are bullets that are made of completely frangible material that is meant to basically turn to dust when it strikes a target. But there's also ammunition that's made with steel cores. Sometimes that's because it's cheaper. Sometimes it's because it's meant to penetrate things like body armor and armor on vehicles. Now check this out. This is not a armor-piercing round. This is a highly available product that is inexpensive. Check this out. Yeah, so that's got a steel core. That's how you test. Use a magnet and you're gonna know. Not only will that steel core ruin a steel target, it's also creating what can be a deadly secondary missile coming off of the target after you hit it. Know what you're shooting. Do not shoot steel targets with any type of ammunition that's meant to penetrate or steel core like that, or some other hard object harder than the steel. You're setting yourself up for, at the very least, ruining steel targets, quite possibly ruining your body or ruining life. I'm not kidding.
Another piece here, are these like, you know, real bad examples? Yeah, but this is going to illustrate everything that we're talking about. So you've got an uneven strike face. This piece of steel is really convex or concave, depending on which side you're looking at. Interestingly enough, you look at these two areas broken out, this used to have a bracket welded to the backside. When you weld on hardened steel, or any steel, when you heat it, which is what happens when you're welding, you change the hardness, the temper of the steel. So, see if I can spin this around slightly. You can see where this fissured and cracked because it makes the steel brittle after welding on it. So this is one of the reasons that we're looking for targets that don't have components welded. There's many good ones out there that do have some parts welded on them, but just know that the life of the steel is going to be minimized, or at least compromised, in that area of the weld. There's ways that you can change that hardness, but we're talking about a lot of stuff that you're buying that's in the $200, $300, $400 price point. They're not retempering the steel. Smooth strike face, good angle, and then we're going to talk about the distances of where you want to be to actually engage steel with rifle and pistol ammo. Speaking of distances, for pistol, we stay 10 yards or farther. And rifle, honest to God, you should stay
50 to 100 yards out or further
with rifle. The reason being, that high-speed bullet might be sending fragments back, especially if the strike face is at all deformed. So if you show up on a range, like you go out with your buddies, before you start shooting steel, I would walk down and look. If there's big craters, I won't shoot it. I've been in a vehicle or sitting on my vehicle. My son and I were shooting one day with some friends. We were 100 yards easily from the targets. They were shooting rifles, and all of a sudden you hear zing, psh, the back window of the truck next to me exploded. We're like, all right, we're done. You know, me and him jumped in our truck and we're like, we're out of here. If it came back fast enough to blow the window out, that would easily hurt you. And that stuff happens all the time. All right, so one of the first things we're gonna look at here is sheepdog targets. Good friends of ours, they have come up with a really sweet design. What's cool, you guys will notice, no holes drilled in there, which means no bolts, to get sheared off. Nothing welded to this. Nothing welded to it means that there's no loss of temper to the steel. Or when you weld on steel, you change its hardness rating, which is a big issue with steel targets. So as we're talking about preferred targets, we got to bring up TA targets. These guys are known for their very simple yet elegant mounting systems. Both are 550 steel, 550 half-inch steel. There's not much out there that's going to wreck these or put a hole in them. And when you're shooting these with regular ball ammo, 9mm, 40, 45, things like that out of pistols, they're basically going to last you forever unless you let them rust. One thing I will add, and we're going to look at this on the back of one of our other pieces of steel, a lot of people think that the only thing that wrecks steel targets is armor-piercing ammo, when in reality, real high-speed stuff, even just ball ammo going really fast, 3,200 feet per second and quicker, really starts to pit less than high-quality steel, and we'll show you some of that on another one of our pieces of steel. So here's what I wanted to show you guys. This is a quality piece of steel. I need you to look at the back here, Drew. Right here. So what I want you guys to see here, even though this is a piece of quality 500 steel, AR 500, high-speed ammo, just sheer heat created from the impact, is putting divots in here. This piece of steel technically is no longer safe to shoot at. Luckily, we've got another smooth strike surface that will get some more life out of this. But if you guys are out buying super high speed 5.56, 223 or other calibers, just the velocity impacting at that high speed, the heat created causes these kind of divots, and that ruins steel. So less than stellar AR 500, you can get a lot of 400 that's out on the market. And a lot of people don't even know how to properly rate steel. They're buying stuff from mills and it's actually just mild steel. So you gotta know you're buying from somebody that understands the grading and rating process of steel. Otherwise, this is what happens. And to my student that did this, you owe me.
So shooting at steel targets is definitely fun and exciting. You get the audible response, that ring ting of the steel getting hit. It also can be extremely dangerous. I'm not joking. You can be seriously injured, blinded, or even killed. Yes, I'm not making this stuff up.
Very important to keep safety in mind as we are out training. Guys, remember to be your own cavalry. Nobody's coming to save you. Welcome to the CarryTrainer steel target. And we've got a the 1/3. They've got a gong, which we left on the truck. Gonna pull the 30. Try that again. What's worth your money? No. You should be spending your money on. We're gonna run some rain. Okay, so blah 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 blah. I've lost my train of thought. They're out of Pennsylvania. They've actually hosted a class for the CarryTrainer. No, I don't like that either. How's that? That was so fluid, so fluid.